Today on 10-Minute IT Jams, we have Kelly Herrell, who is the CEO of Hazelcast. Welcome to the jam, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No worries. So to get straight into it, kick things off, can you please just give us a brief overview of what Hazelcast is all about, and what are your key products and offerings?
Sure. So Hazelcast is a software company and software and cloud company, and we turbocharge applications in a way that enables customers to transform into real-time businesses. And our offering is an ultralight, high-performance data processing platform that can act on streams and events in the very moment that they're generated. And this is the trick. They can do that while simultaneously combining that with the rich contextual data that's housed in databases. It's doing that simultaneously. So Hazelcast is entirely unique in this combined capability. And this is how we enable customers to not just have insight, but actually act instantaneously on data everywhere, whether it's in the data center or in the cloud. Maybe that describes it enough for you. You can let me know.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on if you like.
Well, the interesting thing to me and why I'm part of the company is that there's a couple of really key macro trends that are at work here. And there's things that customers are really, in many cases, struggling to deal with, but there's a lot of opportunity in them. I think the first macro trend is an important one, which is that the era of IT centralization is in long-term decline, right? As the world is becoming increasingly more connected, more decentralized. And second, and this is important, because of digitization, more data will be generated in the next 3 years than was generated in the last 30, right? And this is coming from an increasing number of new data sources, which in a decentralized world is creating more data silos, right? So this is something customers really struggle with, to take advantage of this new, flood of data. And the majority of it is in the form of events and streams. And what I mean by events and streams, it could be messaging events like a Kafka queue, or more traditional things like MQ series or TIBCO. It could be stock tickers. It could be sensor feeds. It could be a click stream. Every time I think of e-commerce, every time somebody clicks a button, it creates an event and it sends that event from point A to point B, right? So you've got all of this. You want to act on it because that's the new data source, but there's no context, right? They know that click stream happened, but they don't have, in that same moment, the application doesn't also have access to all the detail behind the user in order to be able to actually do something meaningful with that, that event. So, those things are clearly kind of framing the opportunity, and we're really helping customers, become real-time businesses.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned some of the trends that you're seeing driving enterprises. So staying on that kind of topic, looking to the future, what kind of trends are your product development teams focused on?
Yeah, it's things that are obviously directly in line with those trends. One is, this ability to simultaneously process event streams and store data in the same workspace, in the same application workspace. That's something that we invented as a software company, and it's something that's 100% unique to Hazelcast. So, it's absolutely fundamental to enabling these rich real-time applications. So, from a directionality standpoint, we're going to be obviously making substantial improvements in analytics and machine learning, so that applications can take advantage of that capability in that richer data context. We're going to be making even more movement toward our hybrid cloud capabilities. The world is decentralized increasingly. Architectures are increasingly hybrid, and as workloads are moving, processing areas are moving. So we're going to be increasing that capability. We will continue to, importantly, because there's so many data silos, we're going to continue to advance our ability to pull data very easily from any data source through a wide range of ecosystem connectors. Hazelcast loves all sources of data. It could be Kafka is a source of data. Anything as old as a relational database is a source of data, or Mongo is a source. Any of these sources of data we love, we sit right in the middle of those, and we're going to make it very, very easy for people to just point, click, and connect, and be able to pull together the curated form of collection of data that they need to be able to create new applications and be able to act on them, instantaneously, and create a real-time business.
Right, yeah. And keeping all that in mind, on the practical side, are there any customer use cases that you'd be able to share with us about this?
Yeah, quite a few actually, and a lot of them are extremely innovative. I'll give you one that's I love because it's so easy to get your head around. We do a lot of work in the financial services arena and a lot of work in the e-commerce arena right now. And the financial services arena is a very large European bank, BNP Paribas. And as a retail bank, one of the things they wanted to do was increase their origination of consumer loans, right? And they realized they were missing a lot of opportunity in there because they were not doing it in a real-time event. It was always after the fact. It was old school approaches. So what they did using Hazelcast was they created a solution where when the customer goes to the ATM and logs in to the cash machine, that login is an event. And that event then triggers a series of processing capabilities on the back end that looks at things like, for example, what is their current account balance? That's important to know if you want to offer somebody a loan. But that's not good enough. What about if we know that their account balance is near zero, but is there a pattern that says it looks like tomorrow is payday, and therefore they won't need a loan? So we're now starting to do more analysis. And what about other sources and uses of their patterns of cash consumption? Can we discern from that so we get a longer arc of their actual behavior? And then what about their credit score? And so all of this is happening through a combination of processing of the rich contextual data that is the customer records and history, along with eventing and some movement of data that's happening in the process. And while the customer is still standing at the ATM, they receive a text with a custom loan offer, a custom amount, a custom duration, and a custom interest rate. And by doing that, BNP Paribas increased their retail loan origination by 400%. Right? That's what a real-time business is. It's not an after the fact. You have to act in the moment. If you don't act in the moment, the opportunity has passed. But to act in the moment, you don't just need to know that the event occurred. I mean, they could log in, the customer could log in, and the bank could just splash them a random loan. But how accurate is that going to be? What's the take rate going to be on that? But by doing it in such a customized fashion and doing it instantaneously, they just magnified the size of that business. So I think that's a really, really good and easy story. We have many more complex stories that customers are utilizing, but they all are predicated upon the change agent, which is this growth in event data and growth in stream data, and combining that with the history rich contextual data to be able to do things that were never before possible.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I've got one more question for you, Kelly. If a partner or enterprise end user wanted to engage with Hazelcast, what is the best way?
Yeah, certainly for customers, we sell direct and indirect through partners. Just as an example, on a global scale, IBM resells Hazelcast today. But for any direct inquiries, either for sales or for partnerships, all of our contacts are on hazelcast.com.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, that's all I have for you today, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.